Okay, so lots of Australia's burning right now, and my newsfeed is full of this stuff. People saying, "Oh my goodness, it's a terrible tragedy, joints on fire, and I feel powerless to do anything." The bad news is, you are powerless to do anything most of the time. Certainly, Instagram influencing has little to no effect on climate change or stopping enormous out of control infernos. The good news is that everyone has an opportunity to do stuff to help people in need, but you have to be doing things that you're good at. You have to keep it inside your skill set. Someone has to be taking responsibility for it, and it has to be well resourced. That's the nature of helping people in distress, whether it's intense, very short or intense distress that's brought on very quickly by a big event like this, or people that have just fallen on tough times. Expertise and skills, resources, and someone taking responsibility for an outcome. Right now we have a situation where there is disaster relief required. That is different to disaster recovery and community rebuilding. The relief part is getting people safe, making sure that they're not in harm's way, making sure that when they're not in harm's way, they've got some food, that they've got something to wear, and they've got somewhere safe to be. That's the situation right now, and hopefully the fire services, who are doing an amazing job and have absolutely got a massive opportunity to do something to help, because it's what they're good at and that's what they know and that's what they do, is fight fires. At the moment, that relief is about making sure that people get a moment to be away from the dangerous areas and have somewhere to be while these fires are brought under control, hopefully in the next couple of days. Now, that is a different process to going back home. Evacuating a home and losing a home are not the same thing. They require different kinds of interventions or help afterwards. And the places that have the best opportunity to have those big impacts are actually the really large, well-resourced organisations. Places like Coles and Woolies, who have the logistics in place and the places to keep food, which is obviously what you need in a relief situation, food and water and those sorts of things. The banks to sort of ease the financial pressure of people, and I can't speak to the other banks. I've only seen this from NAB. It doesn't mean they're not doing it, but I've only seen it from NAB, where they're pausing home loan repayments and stuff, and they've got a fund for some short-term cash for people, which I believe they're just giving to people affected, so they can, to customers that are affected. That sort of thing is spot on. That's exactly what the banks should be doing. They should be easing that financial burden for people while they're obviously living in a state of significant distress and also uncertainty. We've got the supermarkets to deliver and distribute food, which is great. They have the resources, they have the money, they have the time, they are right in the pocket of doing what they need to do to make that happen. Municipal councils there have a really good handle on their communities. They know what they need, and they'll be out there delivering that kind of assistance too. So this great outpouring of support is heartwarming to see people really show up to care. But we have been through this process before with other disasters, Hurricane Katrina, the tsunamis, Black Saturday, the hay bale situation that sort of rose to prominence maybe 6 months ago for the farmers. And we see a massive upswell of support on social media, and then if you follow on with what's going on, which is what we do at JBN, a lot of that money sort of just disappears. Those people are there for disaster relief, not community recovery. They're not the same things. They don't require the same things. The really expensive part is the community recovery piece. So for all the well-meaning businesses that are like, hey, all our sales we're going to give to charity and do all this kind of stuff, save your money, guys, seriously, and just wait a few weeks, a month, 3 months, a year, and put that money into those communities by going there and buying stuff from those communities, buying produce from those communities, going and holidaying in those communities that are worse affected, to help build up the local economy by getting cash into there over the next 5 years. Because that's how you actually really support a community in need, is after this intensely terrible time, is to go back in and help build that economy by supporting them and getting stuck in. In terms of delivering disaster relief and obviously preempting further difficulty through the fire season, because it is only the beginning of December, you can support the RFS in New South Wales, which is the Rural Fire Service, the CFA here in Victoria, the QFES, which is the Queensland fire and emergency service in Queensland, obviously. Food bank are well set up to distribute food, which is obviously one of the absolute essentials. And if you would have a bunch of stuff you want to give it is like a directory. Give it is a web page. You can put stuff on there if you want to give it, and people in need or communities in need, they're onto it where they are. They can hop on, ask for stuff, and then maybe you can organise to ship it up there. But don't go around loading up cars and loading up things and getting containers and we're going to get trucks and we're going to do this, and we're going to take everyone's clothes and shit up there. You just end up with all this stuff that people can't use. They have to dispose of it somewhere. It's a burden to have hundreds and hundreds of well-meaning people just rock up right now because everyone's on holidays and we've got a bit of time and all that kind of stuff, and people mean well because emotions are running high. If you really care, maintain those emotions, keep it up. Care in 3 months, care in 6 months, care in 12 months, care in 18 months, care at the next election. Vote in people that give a shit about things like making an effort to support the insurance policy that is a well-resourced rural fire service in every state, which is a state funded thing, I believe, as well. So that's a state government issue. Make sure that we get on the backs of the insurance companies who are going to bear a huge chunk of the burden of the community and home rebuilding process once the damage gets a chance to be assessed. So then after that, there'll be a time to fill in gaps for people, and that's not going to be for quite a while. In Marysville, we were still dealing with stuff 3-4 years later where people were going through the rebuilding, they were changing building codes to make them more fireproof. People had lost a lot of staff. People weren't coming obviously for jam and scones anymore because the place had burnt down and things weren't happening, and it took a long time to get that all together. Funding got pulled quickly from the government at one point, I believe, because the clock had run out on a couple of grants and things like that. And so long term is the answer for the rebuilding and the community engagement and the support for the community. That's where the real money shot is. The short term disaster relief stuff, I've already seen millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars go out there, go to a handful of organisations, and not to point fingers at organisations that maybe don't do a great job with that, but most of the time when we have events like this, the money certainly isn't being used as well as it could be. So don't worry so much about being a business that's like, oh, we're going to give all our money today. Put time into those communities in 12 months' time. Just care then. Don't vote for people who don't believe in climate change and don't want to do anything about it. Don't vote for people who don't want to support the insurance policy that is our firefighters and emergency service workers, SES people, those sorts of people. Look out for each other, for everyone around you, so that you have a better idea of what's going on with them if anything goes wrong with people. Give to the rural fire services, they're doing an amazing job. I cannot imagine, it's terrifying the videos coming out, it's crazy how big these fires are. And the intensity of it is obviously overwhelming for a lot of people, but if you're doing things that aren't in your skill set, that you don't do every day, that aren't part of your day-to-day job, that aren't things that you know, then you're probably just getting in the way. If you can imagine if you were doing your job and 500 people just rocked up with bags of stuff they thought you might want, and you're like, mate, we don't need any of this, I don't know what's going on, we've got nowhere to put it, thanks very much, but we don't need all your second-hand stuff. Hold off. In 12 months' time, in 18 months' time, in 10 months' time, 5 months' time, 6 months' time, that's when JBM will be in there filling in the gaps, making sure that whatever the insurance isn't picking up, that we've got opportunities for people, that wherever the community development needs to happen, we'll be in there getting after that. And we'll be talking about that then. Right now, people need to be given some space and support to just get on with it. Councils need to come together and understand what they need. People need to get a gauge on what's left and what isn't left after these fires come under control, hopefully in the next couple of days. The outpouring of support is really great. People's hearts are so big, it's inspiring, but I hate to see things go to waste, and it's okay. Take a breath. It's all right. Patience is a virtue. Long-term help is where it's at. The disaster relief organisations are not long-term support and community development organisations traditionally. So just be mindful of that, because I've seen in my lifetime far too much goodwill and money sort of spill over the edges and disappear and go to waste, and it's a real shame for the communities that really can benefit from the generosity of the rest of Australia. I give all my best, all my love to all the fireys, all the families that are affected, all the communities that are under the pump. We cross our fingers. It does nothing, but we cross our fingers and we hope for the best for the weather and for the fires to get under control very soon. And in the meantime, we'll be getting ready for the next 12, 18, 24 months of helping to rebuild those communities, because that's where it's at. That's what we've got to be doing. Look after each other. Remember this at election time, and keep those good vibes rolling. See if you can hold on to them for the next couple of years to look out for these people and communities that are going to need your help in the long term. Absolutely. Food bank, give it. Fire authorities, look after them. They'll be out there getting stuff done, and then we'll get on to the rest of the stuff once we get a bit of a gauge of where everything's at. So look out for one another. Thanks very much. Take care. Just be nice, and